Welcome to Tackle Talk Live, dedicated to making you a better fisherman. Proudly brought to you by our sponsors: The Boat Shop, 3J's Fourway, Pride Rods, Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, The Lakes Insurance Agency, One Stop Tackle, Lone Star Bass Trail, V&M Baits. Now on to your hosts, Ranger Daiwa Pro Staff Steve Graff and V&M Baits President Kevin Jean.
Hello and welcome to Tackle Talk Live. I'm Ranger Daiwa Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with V&M President, CEO Kevin Jean, and today we have a special treat. This is a special edition of Tackle Talk Live, by the way. It's not our normal Monday airtime, but you're going to get some good information from one of the best guys, one of the most knowledgeable anglers, Major League Fishing's TV co-host, Marty Stone is going to be joining us today, Kel.
Yeah, we're going to have Marty on. Little MLF Special Edition here. So the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour starts on Sam Raburn on Sunday. Group A will go on Sunday. And it'll go all through next week. So it's going to be a very interesting tournament. Little cool snap we had here this weekend. So we're going to get Marty on. We're going to talk any and everything about this tournament. We're going to dive into his opinions on how it's going to play out. We're going to give our opinions, and we want your opinions as well. Give us your questions for Marty, your comments, how you think things are going to shake out. Live will be every day. MLF will be live on Sam Raburn every day. So it's going to be a really interesting tournament to see how things go out. And Steve, I really think they're going to play and out catch them.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, if you happen to have Kevin or I's cell phone number and you want to text us a question, that's great. But if you could, try to do it on our Facebook page. That way we'll make sure we see them. And so looking forward to getting your questions. And but before we get to Marty, real quick, we've got some sponsors we want to recognize for today.
One of our newest sponsors, One Stop Tackle, located at 7933 Farmingham Road in Humble, Texas. They carry everything you need for all the local lakes around the Houston area, plus everything for Sam Raburn and Toledo Bend. Make sure to like their Facebook page for updated store hours and new products coming in daily. That is One Stop Tackle.
And also, we've got the Lone Star Bass Tournament Trail Open Team Series events. There's two circuits, one in the spring, one in the fall. And we'd like to make sure that owner of this particular trail, we're giving him all the PR we can possibly give him. They have one more tournament left, regular season tournament, which is May the 2nd. And then their championship is May 23rd for the spring series. $5,000 up for grabs, $150 entry fee. It is a team event, 5 fish. And then in the fall, they will be doing another tournament trail on Toledo Bend. So right now it's at Sam Raburn. So this next one in the fall will be on Toledo Bend. So check them out. Open Series Team Events, Lone Star Bass Tournament Trail.
And the Boat Shop. Mr. Raymond Kidd and his staff take great pride in keeping your boat and motor performing at its best. A certified Yamaha dealer and full support Garmin dealer, offering the best in electronics and the new Garmin trolling motor. Stop by 2410 Sanford Avenue in Shreveport and let the Boat Shop take care of all your boating needs. Give them a call at 318-402-0399 or go to shreveportboatshop.com to learn more. They also carry aluminum boats made by Sea Arc. So if you guys are interested in your Sea Arc, especially their crappie line, make sure to go by and check them out at the Boat Shop.
All right, on the phone with us, the man, the myth, the legend, a good friend of ours, good friend of the program, Mr. Marty Stone, former Elite Series Pro and MLF TV co-host. Marty, man, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you. And I know you've got to be excited. It's always exciting when you come to Sam Raburn, isn't it?
It's always exciting when I come to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
We're hitting probably arguably one of the hottest lakes in the country at a time period where I think every fish in the lake is either swimming toward the bank or looking at the bank.
Exactly. And they all weigh 8 pounds.
Derek Mundy showed us that in the last couple of months, I believe.
Exactly. And of course, we've had Derek on. He's a friend of the program. Me and Kevin compete against Derek over there, and I've donated a lot of money.
For y'all, then.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Yeah, we've donated a lot of money to Derek over the years. But anyway, he's definitely one of those sticks over there you got to beat. But, Marty, I guess where we want to go with this for today's program, the upcoming MLF event, we want to kind of preview that, what you think. We'll give you ideas what we think. And so, Kevin?
Marty, my first question to you is how's I know the guys are excited going to Sam Raburn, but what's the feel going around, kind of the talk, the buzz about the cold snap here that we're getting?
Kevin, I think what everybody knows what happened last weekend, that Bass Champs tournament. I mean, it was, and a lot of that is, one, a Great Lake, and two, it was weather related, and it was just premium. You had the weather coming in, barometric pressure dropping, fish are wanting to head that way. And I'm not so sure if we didn't have his snap that every fish in the lake wouldn't have sat down. We know right. Rayburn's so big that they all are not going to sit down at one time.
Right.
But now, a good possibility now that this snap comes down there, and they've got enough Florida in them to act a little weird. I think it maybe knocks them back in the head and gets them back to where they were. And I'd rather have them where they were at last weekend than I sit there and watch, selfishly watching these guys sight fish the whole time. So I think the bunch as a whole realizes, in the overall view of things, this was probably a good thing.
Yeah, and as the week goes on, Marty, because Kevin and I are going to be over there competing in another event that's going on over there, a 2-day event, Friday and Saturday. The thing that's going to be happening every day, it's warm. Every night, it's in the low 50s. So this little cold snap we're getting this weekend, by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, things are going to start to heat back up again.
Yeah, think about, our format. So the day was the first day of practice for these guys, and then they'll practice tomorrow. And then by the course of our event, it's 6 days when you get through doing all the rounds. So we're really asking these guys to get on the water today. And if they're fortunate enough to make it to the championship, that's an 8-day time period. We all know. We've all fished enough.
Yeah.
There is nothing on God's green earth you're going to find in the world of fishing that's going to last for 8 days.
No.
What these guys are learning is how, and you hear them starting to talk about it more and more, how can they stay out in front of these fish? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many factors that's going to come into play, Marty, because this is not a 5-fish limit, because this is, an overall weight, a numbers game, the way you guys fish it. There's so many things that are going to come into play with hydrilla, with the bushes, people fishing bushes to drains, the way the fish are setting up, hay grass, and we can go on down the line, this stuff that's going to play. But my biggest question to these guys is, are we going to go for quality, which you might not catch as many, but you might catch them 5 that are for 30? Or are you going to go for quantity and just catch as many of them 2 to 3 to 4 pounders that's in the lake that Raburn is known for? You can pull up on the right hydrilla mat,
load the boat,
and load the boat in about 10 casts. Catch one every 10 casts. They might only weigh 2 pounds.
Right.
You might go down a stretch flipping bushes and only catch 2 pounders, but you might catch one every 3 flips.
Yeah.
Here's going to be the beauty of this event. To answer your question, the answer is yes and all of the above. Because I think we're finally showing up at a lake that no matter what your strength is, if you land on the right group of fish, you can win. And add into that, I'm still not going to rule out someone doing something offshore.
Yeah.
There's just too many big fish in this lake. And it could be an offshore deal where those really, really giants have already snuck up there and done what they were going to do and come back out.
Right.
Or some lake fish coming out of the river, pulling up and stopping for the first time. A lake like this, we all know it. We're talking to our buddies, and you have a great day on Sam Raburn, and, man, how'd you do? I probably caught 25, 30 fish. There's just, every fisherman always catches them 5s. You never hear anybody go, man, I caught 23, or I caught 27, or I caught 20. We're going to find out what the lies are now.
Yeah, you're right. Trying to put up or shut up. Yeah.
That's exactly right. This format, because Raburn is one of, and I said this in one of our pre-production meetings, we have a chance to set every record we own in a largemouth event. I'm not talking about some of these smallmouth things that we've done. Yeah. That was pretty neat and cool. But, man, this lake, the time period we're hitting it with this group of anglers, and I think this is another big deal. You guys, and I was up in Tulsa when all this happened. We were covering Red Crest when that big Arctic blast come in there. And we all know Texas and Rayburn well enough to know, man, there's a group of fish that wants to sit down in February.
Oh,
They'll
yeah,
come up
absolutely.
there and do their thing. I've seen, now you've got all that weather come in, and I've seen this happen on lakes before where you got a couple waves that are stacked up and they end up coming in at the same time.
Yes.
Well, and you've got the full moon coming up next week. I mean, we got again, everything's coming together for probably Wednesday on of this next week. Things will really start to heat up over there. But the question I got for you right now, Marty, who of the bunch that are fishing this MLF event, who would you say will be the first guy that's going to go out there and try to hit those pre-spawners or those fish coming off the spawn? Who's going to be the guy that can? It's really that's in his wheelhouse.
Boy, you have to give an advantage there if you're looking for that kind of angler to a Jacob Wheeler or a Hot Defo.
Yeah.
They just seem to have a knack for staying in front or around those kind of fish. And I'm going to add Brian Thrift. You know, the beauty, and we don't talk about this a lot with Wheeler and Thrift. When they go into a 2-day practice, and they both have some similarities with it, and there's some unique differences too, but they have both on separate occasions told me they constantly stay on their electronics. They constantly looking off the bank because they feel like spend all the time out. And if out doesn't work, they can go to a bank. And the reason they say this drives me nuts, but they make it work. They say, oh, bank fishing's so easy. They can just go start doing it.
Yeah.
But I say the same thing. I'm an old bank beater anyway. But to their credit, when I finally catch them going down the bank, they make it look that stinking easy.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
You're right.
Now, this lake right here, because of its size, because of its diversity, because I truly think we're showing up at a lake the way y'all's lake's fishing right now, an angler can win it from end to end. And you guys know Rayburn 1,000% better than I do. This is a lake where an area gets hot.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you go back to last weekend, Marty, in the Bass Champs. I mean, I talking to several of the guys on Saturday and Sunday. The top stringers come out of one little small area of the lake, and if if somebody hits that area, I know for a fact, 3 of the top 7 stringers on Sunday was in one pocket. One pocket.
I talked to the dad, the young man that finished second on that Sunday event. I know the dad fairly well, Jimmy Roselle. And I said, what do you tell your son when he catches 5 for 31 and he weighs in 11-pounder and he finishes second? He said, I handed him a beer and said, we'll talk about it later. I'm like, you know what? That's pretty good dad talk right there. It's amazing. It really, because when them big ones on that lake pile in there, and let's make the argument for what's the best lake in Texas right now.
Oh, well,
I'm gonna argue that it's Rayburn. I get Fork back in its day when it had hydrilla, it had many seasons. I'm always a fan of the Toledo event because I normally could do well. But man, day in and day out, and I think a lot of you guys it sounds like the hydrilla's in the best shape it's been in a long time.
It really is. It's right. And you know, Marty, what you were saying, what do you say when you come in with 31 pounds, you don't win? What do you say when you come in with 20 pounds and don't get a check?
Don't even get paid.
I've actually been there before when I was back in the day fishing bass. I remember an event at Clear Lake. I think I had like 19.8 one day. And I come across the stage, and then they talked to me like I'd had 9 pounds.
Yeah.
I thought I'd zeroed by the time I got off stage. So, man, you get them toting contests like that, and I think this one, you guys asked the question, what's the thought process? Here's one thing I will say. As much as these guys are looking forward to this event, there's that degree of fear.
Oh, yes.
And here's what I mean by that. When you get behind on a lake like this, if you don't figure it out soon and don't figure it out well, you will take the biggest beating you have ever had in your life. And you have no excuses.
No, that's true.
When the whole field's catching them and you're getting it handed to you and you're listening to that score tracker, man, it can beat you senseless on a lake like this.
And this is a sport, as we've all know, all of us that fish, higher levels or whatever you want to call it, any tournament angler, it's a sport of momentum. Now, John Cox comes into this event. He won here last year. How important, Marty, is history? Is this a weekend where, the whole lake could be on fire? Do you throw history out the window and just start all over from scratch? And how hard is that to do?
Man, that's a great question. And my answer to that is history is very important, but I'll give you the but of that. The beauty with this group, the upper echelon, and I don't care what circuit it is, the upper echelon of fishermen, they do rely on the history, but the really good ones, and I mean the really good ones, it gives them their starting point, and within 5 to 10 minutes, they know whether to go forward or go back on history. In other words, they have a guess.
Yeah.
Okay, the fish are not doing this. I'm either in front of or behind them, where weekend, regular average fishermen, people that are mere mortals like us, we get hung up and it takes us 2 or 3 hours to flush history. These guys flush it in a matter of minutes.
We try to force it.
That's right.
Yeah,
and when
right.
you fight a lake, and especially a good lake, you're going to get burned. I mean, you can go to average to bad lake and you can fight it and make yourself, especially in a 5-fish format, hide bad decisions because you got fortunate caught a couple. But in this format on this lake, you're not going to hide bad.
Yeah. Now let me, in my opinion, Marty, what's going to throw some of these guys, and they know it's there, but I know a lot of these guys on tour that hate dealing with the boat pressure. And you're coming to one of, if not the hottest lake in the South, in the middle of March.
Yeah.
When
right.
whereas we're we have the ABA Solo 150. It's going to have 150 to 200 boats next week. Them guys gonna be practicing every day. When you get into the weekend, there's a 200 boat team tournament on Saturday. They practice on Friday. I mean, we can go on as the week gets on. It's just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah.
These guys are going to, the ones that are not used to the fishing the lakes with these pressure, I'm afraid it's going to spin some of them out.
Yeah.
Kevin, you bring an interesting point, and I hear it from our group every now and then. My response to that is, these are public waterways, and the good fishermen, they learn to deal with it. It's just a part of the equation, and I'll give you, for instance, like on Raburn, you guys know as well as I do, there's areas on that lake Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that are on fire. By Friday, Saturday, you better not roll through there.
No, that's right.
Because by the time you get there, you're going to be the 50th boat to go through there.
Because thanks COVID, more people are fishing than ever. Maybe that's one good thing to come out of it. It's a part of something that everyday fishermen, and I'll add another layer to that. You guys in that ABA tournament, that tournament is just important as the one we have going on. And I've made this argument on live. And I'll give you, for instance, the people that are fishing at tournaments, there are people that every dime they've got, every minute of vacation they have, they've saved up to be able to fish those events.
Oh, no doubt.
To them, that's the biggest deal they're going to do that year.
Yeah.
They're no more or less important than our guys. And our guys, if they want to succeed on a regular basis in public bodies of water, you have now got to learn to factor in what we call with local lake pressure, because if we're doing our job as a league and we're taking anglers to the really good lakes, and I heard a little bit of this last year after Fork, I'm like, I can take you to a lake, there's no boat pressure, and you're not going to catch no fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I can take you to a lake where you're going to deal with a lot of boat pressure, and the fishing's going to be really good. Which do you want?
Well, and it's for y'all, for marketing reasons, you have to go there. People want to see you at Raburn. We want to see you at Fork and so on and so forth. Lakes that we fish is, it's just better results for you guys.
I'm going to give y'all one. I'm going to see if anybody can guess this. So since 2000, the year 2000, how many national events, I'll say bass and FLW, how many times have they been to Raburn in March since 2000?
In March?
In March.
Not many. They usually been later. I would say they've been April and May.
And earlier in January. They've been here in January. Earlier. Yeah.
Not many in March.
I don't know if I recall one in March.
Oh, I think that's right.
So we've had two.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 2006 Elite Series. Hackney won.
I
screwed that one up. I should have won that one, or I've been at least close. And then that's the last time I probably ever caught a fish. In 2014, FLW was there in three weeks.
Yeah.
This good of a lake, and to y'all's point, we normally, everybody makes a mistake. They go there in January and February, and it's a great tournament. Or a while back, they showed up in a end of April, May event. This is the first time that we're going to this lake and we're not going to have to probably deal with an extraordinary cold front over a 6-day window and really see what this thing's got.
Yeah, no, you're right. You know, another thing too, that we've already talked about the two of these anglers, and I want to talk about a little bit more. Brian Thrift and Jacob Wheeler. The one thing that they have in common, they don't like to fish around a bunch of people. They're two guys that's going to try to get away from folks.
You can't do that on Raburn. Not in March.
Well, there's some places that I think you can get in some backwater areas, maybe way up the lake, up the river. I see some people like Thrift and Wheeler separating themselves from the rest of the field. I saw it on Chickamauga a couple times where those guys, man, they got away from everybody else and did their own thing.
I'll give you some for instance on both of them, and I'll start with Thrift. And I haven't got to cover him as much as I have Wheeler. I've literally watched Wheeler from day one. But here's the thing that jumps off the page with me at Thrift. He is one of our better offshore anglers, no doubt. But there's no one that even comes close to him. He looks for shallow offshore stuff more so than anybody on tour. And what I mean by that is he looks for stuff that's not on the card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's impossible. No, it's not, because when you get up there in that 6-7 foot and shallower depth range, Brian has no equal. So a lot of times when you're seeing him finding places like that, it's just stuff that the most aren't looking for, because the majority of the guys that are offshore, they want to see it on the card.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so much of what Brian fishes now, in Jacob's case, here's where he has really evolved as an angler. Jacob has learned the Chickamauga event that you were talking about. Found a lot of places that, as he calls them, his little sneaky places, and it's that mid-depth range. It's again, it's maybe on the card, but it doesn't look like nothing. But just through a lot of time and patience on his electronics. But he's also learned how to do this. He's learned how and when to be in the crowd. And he's okay with it. I'm going to tell you who was the best at that I've ever seen. Kevin Van Dam. It took me years to ever realize this, but Kevin has no equal here. When we all go to lakes and we all talk about getting away from pressure, what do we all want to do? We all want to find something to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Kevin always used reversed. Kevin, in his events, would go to the biggest communities on the lake in a 4-day event. He'd fish them for the first 2.5 days. Why are they community places? Because they always reload and they always get a lot of pressure. And then Kevin would spend a majority of his other time in practice looking for those few places that he had to himself. Well, why is that a big deal? Because normally those places with these electronics that we have to ourselves, they're good for 1 day. Mm-hmm. You and I and everybody else, we're looking for that place off the beaten path. Well, we find it. We have a good 1 day.
Yeah.
By the second, third day, what are we doing? We're rolling back to the biggest community holes on the lake.
Right.
Kevin knew that he was good enough that when he rolled through those community areas, if they were biting, he was going to get his.
Yeah.
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 Wheeler has evolved into that he doesn't mind mixing it up, but he knows right when to do it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Another thing, too, and first of all, congratulations on the last episode, the last lake, where a man has won a tournament like John Cox without his forward electronics. Marty Stone predicted that, Kevin.
And I went out on a limb on that one, didn't I, boys? Because old bank beater like me, I was getting aggravated with JT, and I'm like, oh, my God. And you know what? We got a chance here to go back to back.
That's why I just fixed to say, Marty, this is a shot. You got the same shot again right here to do that again.
Now we were talking about Thrift, but I got to take I got to take the spotlight to the local, Todd Faircloth.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite anglers of all time. I think one of the most underrated, actually, when we were picking camera selections for the first day. I said, boys, and I talked to Faircloth before this event. He was over at Toledo practicing. I said, do not for a second overlook Todd. He's due to win on our trail.
Yes.
He's good enough to win on our trail. He's good. To me, he's got Hall of Fame credentials.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's quietly sort of been under the radar here for the last 2 years. And I mean, he's just solid.
But Marty, on Raburn, everybody thinks, well, people, you don't have a home field advantage when it's shallow. You have a home field advantage when you know where all the brush piles and stuff, yada, 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 all the deep stuff. I don't agree with that, especially on Raburn, especially with as good as the electronics is now. People can figure that out. The shallow, I believe he has an edge here, it being a shallow deal because of Raburn and how it is. You take, for instance, last weekend, the gentleman that won Bass Champs on Sunday had 35 pounds. He caught a 9 and an 8 off one bush.
Yeah.
But it's a bush that they hit 10 times the last day because he knew it always held big fish. I think Faircloth is going to have an advantage in this tournament because it is a shallow tournament, because he knows the areas, he knows the right stumps to hit, the right bushes that always have bigger fish, so on and so forth, and he's going to know how to deal with the everyday fishing pressure that Sam Raburn gets.
Yeah, he told me his biggest concerns was, first, don't overthink this thing. Don't try to get so far away that you get away from fish.
Yes.
And he realizes, as we all do, there's certain areas that continue replenishing. I was talking to him and actually Jeff Sprague about this very thing. I fish a lake in North Carolina, Virginia area called Kerr Lake, Bugs Island. It's got flooded bushes. Not as many, not as good as Rayburn, but it's still good. But when you get to a lake level, what you guys have got right now, where a person better know there might be 300 yards of bushes, but there's only 20 yards that's got 1.5 feet water instead of 8 inches.
Yeah.
Guys like Faircloth understand that 50 yards. Yes. And that's what's critical. And Todd told me, he said, man, the biggest thing is this 2 day of practice, because even with 2 days and even with his knowledge, he said, I've got to get pretty close to the right guess as far as what area, because what he didn't want to do is be spread out from end to end.
Yeah, that's easy to do on Rayburn. It really is.
Yeah, especially with his kind of knowledge. He said, I've been down this road before. I do know it. I know it like the back of my hand. But if I'm not careful, I'm going to overthink this thing. Where I think what we're going to see from Faircloth is he just gets stronger as the event goes on. He wants to get out of the gate good. He wants to do well. But to your point, you let him get to that championship day where those weights are zeroed and all things are equal, and he's had that much time on that lake.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell him we can hand him the trophy.
Yeah.
But he'll have one hand on it.
Now Marty, looking at the lake level, it's actually on the rise as we speak. And I think with the amount of rain that we're going to be getting over the next week, quite a bit of rain, not major downpours probably, but enough to at least sustain the lake and maybe keep it coming up slowly. How is that going to impact a lot of these guys? I mean, of course, it's obviously going to push more fish shallow.
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to reaffirm to the guys that are bank beaters. It's going to keep enough up there. I think the biggest factor on that, because what you said, we got a full moon coming. We got rising waters. We got rising water temps. We've got waves of fish that's been suppressed because of the weather. You talk about the perfect storm.
Yeah.
I mean, this is absolutely the perfect storm, but I keep going back because of the way this lake is and the size of these fish. The X factor, especially in a guy to be able to do it in one day, is that mid-range to offshore. Because if there's anything on that lake, and there's probably very little that's being overlooked, but if there's anything that's being overlooked, it's probably some of that.
Yeah.
And Marty, too, y'all are going out of Humphrey Pavilion, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but we got the trailer policy. So
okay, that's where I wanted to go. Yeah. So you got trailering.
Deal. That's something I push for. So our guys can put in there at the ramp that you just mentioned. But I think it's at 6 a.m. They're allowed to pick up the camera operators. They're allowed to pick up their officials, and then they're allowed to trailer anywhere on the lake that they want to. And what does have a score tracker, and everybody's got an official. They all get in the water at the same time. They'll start to ride through at 7, lines in at 7:30.
Because what that does is that eliminates the wind factor. And at Rayburn, wind can be a factor on where you're trying to get to, as we all know that have fished it.
And it's supposed to rain a lot next week, too.
It's supposed to rain, almost every day, starting Tuesday on. We got, except for Friday, and I think a front comes through Thursday. Not a hard front as far as cold, but it is going to be a front. So Friday could be a windy day, especially for our day one of the tournament. Me and Kevin will be in the ABA tournament, but we're going out of Castle Boykin. Here's where I want to go. The north end of the lake, north of 147 Bridge, a lot of those fish have done their thing up there. But with this new full moon coming up, some of those areas, there's going to be another group pull up. They don't all spawn at the same time. But do you foresee mid-lake south maybe being more dominant? Because north end is always where the tournaments are usually won up there. If you're not within sight of 147 Bridge, you're probably not going to win the tournament.
A 5-fish tournament.
A 5-fish event, right. So do you think Mid-Lake South comes into play more this year?
I think Mid-Lake South comes into play earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And I think as the weekend progresses and that traffic goes away, I just think there's more nooks and crannies mid-lake up that you're talking about the pressure and people and everything. But the other X factor is this. Again, we're zeroing these weights out. I think the big unknown in Rayburn is there's so many fish and it's in such great shape, literally from end to end. No matter what end and what area these guys are in, on that championship day, they can get in the right pocket, drain, ditch, cove, and there's a wave of fish that moves in that no one saw coming. It's lights out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I agree. Marty, let me give you a scenario here.
Okay.
The score tracker is going to be going crazy. If your official had to, the officials in the boat will not be able to tell them every time a fish is caught. It's just going to be going crazy.
Right.
You're in the front. You're fishing the tournament. You're going down the bank. There is a monster on the bed. Do you spend that 20-25 minutes messing with that big fish? As every 5 seconds there's another 3-pounder getting scored.
Yeah.
There's another 3-pounder getting scored. As an angler, these guys are going to have to make these decisions this week.
Well, what we've seen with this, and we saw this a little bit in Chickamauga, Fred Rubanis and Jared Littner, they didn't realize it, but on different days, they both found the same 12-pounder, and they both spent 30 or 40 minutes on it. And on the score tracker side, the officials are mandatory, have to give updates every 15 minutes. Some guys like McClellan like to hear it every 30 seconds. Now, this it'll be insane.
Yes.
To your point, a guy like Shaw Grigsby, who's a really good sight fisherman, John Cox, who's a really good sight fisherman. These guys that are really good, and I've talked to a lot of them about that. They went to back in the day, they could spend 45 minutes to an hour on a great big one. Now they've all got about a 5-minute rule. And when they get over that 5-minute rule, they better understand real quick whether that fish is going to bite or not bite before they put any more time on it. Because just what you said, you go 15, 20, 30 minutes on an 8 to 10 pounder, well, you could have went down the bank and caught 3 threes.
Yep.
And you didn't really gain anything.
Correct.
Now, and I think it's the situation is today. And the beauty with what we do is, man, I hope that happens in championship day. I hope one of them rolls across a 13-pounder and he's 7 pounds back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like Jeopardy. Let's double down and see what happens.
Yeah.
Marty,
it's just insane.
Oh, it really could be. Let's look. I want to do a little comparison here. The young guys seem to be, and I don't care what circuit you're talking about right now, whether it's MLF, BASS, whatever. It seems like the young guys has this become a young man sport because a lot of the older guys seem to be struggling weekend, tournament in, tournament out. You got your Jordan Lees, your John Cox. You got these same guys, Wheeler. They just continue to excel every tournament. And some of the older guys that have been legendary sticks seem to be, fumbling a little bit and struggling. What do you relate that to? What is the situation there?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Steve, that you bring up, and I actually did a little touch on that with our MLF digital side of this thing. And here's what I said. I really believe that we're going to see a reversion back to the means. I think this is going to be the year that the older guys get a little stronger. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you a couple of things I think the younger guys did and have done and really well. One, back in my day, man, when you put that boat up in September, you deer hunted until your first event. I mean, that's what we did. We all fished so we could afford to deer hunt. Now, these young kids, they deer hunt a little bit, but they live this sport 300 days out of the year, if not more. Mm-hmm. So it's year-round, and they're fishing year-round, and they're showing up at the beginning of the year sharper than they've ever been. And they were out in front of the technology. Older guys, Mike Kevin's, Brent Ehlers, guys like that are really good on the depth finder. Mark Rode. Mark's catching up, but they'll self-admit they got a little bit behind the curve. But here's the cool thing about the but they're catching up. And what the young guys don't have is the instincts.
Yeah.
And we're going to see this. Here's what you're going to end up seeing. You're going to watch this forward-facing sonar. And I saw it a little bit at Smith Lake last week. It's a crutch now because it's great. You can see all these fish. You can see 300 fish and you don't get one of them to bite. It doesn't do you any good. And we've had some events where that's a big deal. And I remind people, too, on the forward facing, last year, Jay Lee won the Angler of the Year, didn't have it. Rusky Selesky won the champion title event, didn't have it. I'm going to give you some names on this older guy.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for Van Dam. I truly think he's pissed off. I think
that ain't a good guy to be pissed off.
Oh, yeah. I think he's had it with it. And here's some other names, too. So if I'm right, and the whole world's going to go offshore and start fishing, everybody's going to be looking at forward-facing sonar, it's going to free up the bank more so than ever.
Mm-hmm.
If Andy Morgan gets less people fishing the bank, and remember last year he finished 4th, 5th, or 6th. He was in top 10 or IOY.
Right.
Andy Morgan, Randall Thorpe, Brent Ayler, who does both very well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Skeet Reese has already got off to a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Brian Thrift is in that older category. He's going to be 42 this year.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the younger is 35 and under. I truly think when we get through looking at the AOY this year, when we're done, I think you're going to see a reversion back to the means. And here's why I'll say. So if we've got 10 anglers in the top 10 in the points and 5 of them are 40 and above, then what I said took place. Because these guys, these older anglers have realized now, you show up at the beginning of the year and you're just now knocking the dust off. At the end of the year, they're going to pack sand in your butt and you're going to have dust on you for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So you better show up now. And, what a great thing. This technology, whether it's forward-facing sonar, whether it's a score tracker, whether it's new electronics, whether it's a new trolling motor, call it what it is. The technology has finally caught up to the point that more and more young kids are wanting to do this.
Yeah. Well,
and it's a lifeblood.
And you brought up a good thing with instincts. Last weekend at a BFL on Sam Raburn, a friend of mine was a co-angler, drew out a young guy, forward-facing sonar, had every piece of sonar equipment you could put on a boat. It went out on him. He said the guy literally freaked out. He didn't know what to do, where to go, couldn't go where he wanted to go because he didn't have his electronics. He said the guy spun out completely for the last 4 hours of the day. And he was in a panic mode, and I thought, that's the guy that don't have the instincts that you're talking about. Denny Brower told me the exact same thing you just said about instincts. If you took the sonars away from these younger guys, he said they'd be in a world of hurt.
I got our first $1 million idea. You guys can help me on this because y'all got the platform. So here's how we're going to do this. Because of all our forward-facing electronics haters out there, we're going to do this. We're going to start a Super 60 tournament. And here's how we're going to play this. You can have any size boat, any size horsepower, anything you want to be, but you got to have 2 things. One, you got to be over 60. And 2, the only electronics you can use is a Super 60.
No.
So now for all the haters that love their GPS, that love their 2D down imaging, that love their lives, now they're going to realize that technology is not necessarily a curse because people with instincts, people with ability. John Cox on and one of the most instinctual anglers I've ever had the privilege to cover. I would say there was a 3 or 4 year window where he'd get his depth finders put on his boat. Half the time he didn't hook them up. The other time, because he fished with Shelley, knocked the transducers off, and he never would replace them until he sold his boat. It's worked out okay for John.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would say so.
We called him last year or the year before, Marty. We had him on, and he laughed about it. He said, Steve, my electronics was I didn't have it all week. And I ended up winning the tournament, and everybody was like, they just thought I was some freak of nature that I won the tournament without my electronics. And it don't bother him. He doesn't rely on that to be successful. And, of course, he ticks me off because he makes it look so freaking easy.
That's the instinctual people like, JT Key's like, man, your instincts don't just happen. No, they don't. It's time on the water. But there's that it factor.
Yeah.
I'll use a guy like Jay Lee. Matt gets so frustrated, his brother. He's like, dude, he can't even put his batteries in the boat. He can't do nothing mechanically, and he can't. He is a goofy little kid.
Yeah.
But when it comes to on the water, instinctually, he's as good as I've ever seen. John's a very instinctual fisherman. Andy Morgan's an instinctual fisherman. And Kevin, in his heyday, it's a rarity when you get a guy that is just absolutely off the charts. Mechanically, he's ahead of technology, and then instincts is off the charts as well. That's what Kevin is.
Yeah.
That's what Kevin. And so you get those combinations, but technology is one thing. I remember a long, long time ago when we were running events up there at St. Clair. You guys remember the Aquavision?
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Mark Tucker at one of our tournaments down there, he's a Missouri angler, great guy, old brick mason. Tuck come in after the second day of the event, and he did a terrible event. And he normally catches them up there. And I'm like, Tucker, what happened? He's like, Marty, I found the biggest school of smallmouth I've ever seen in my life. There's hundreds of 4 and 5 pounders. I could drop my vision down there, and I'd see them every day, all day, first 2 days. And I never left. I knew they'd bite. Instinctually, he knew he should leave.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the technology, as rudimentary as that was, he sat there and died on that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when you get good fishermen that's got great instincts and have advancements in the technology, and they're able to use their instincts and the technology, a.k.a. Jacob Wheeler, then you got a handful.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that.
And Marty, forward-facing sonar, that's been the deal the last year. I mean, that's been what is next, Marty? What is coming up down the pipe, down the road? We're going to look back and say, my gosh, what else can they come up with?
It won't be what's next, but I think here's what's going to happen. And the first company that does it's going to own it all. You're going to see a company that's able, or a unit, whether it's 12 or 13-inch unit, that's able to 5-screen. Here's why I say 5-screen. They'll have a nice mapping. They'll have forward-facing sonar. They'll have 2D and side scan, and you can do it all on one unit. And you won't need 5 units stacked up front.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's coming. I think that's the next progression in that. Because other than that, I don't know what else left unless we're going to put some kind of radar on the boats that we can look while we're driving, especially in rainy and foggy days, and be able to predict things that's coming in front of us, not only sonar but radar as well.
I always thought the AquaView, the visual camera, is what I thought would be the next thing, that they're actually going to have video that you can utilize. They'll figure out how to make it work in muddy water and how to make it work in clear water. I thought that would maybe the next route they go.
What Panoptics, Garmin, and Lowrance has got with that active target is darn close now.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is Lowrance, I guarantee you they're sold out for a year and a half after what happened at Eufaula.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. That all of them are, Mark. I mean, all of them are so far behind right now. But, that's the fishing industry. As you alluded to, everybody now is out on the water fishing. That is the one good thing that has came from COVID for all of us. Everything in the whole industry is so far behind.
But those old bank beaters, Rob Newell sent me a text after Connell won. He said, Stone, you have now got the whole bank to yourself.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that. I mean, that's the it thing right now. And I'm going to give you guys something else, too, to think about down the road. Steve, you asked what's next. I can tell you what's going to be next, like on some of these TVA lakes. You remember when the Jason Lammers and the Mark Roses and all that crowd, they were some of the first ones to go offshore and truly blast them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, blast them. That's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Because now there are so many people out there. And these fish are getting more pressure every day, all day, as if they didn't already have pressure on them. Now, what's going to be next? How are anglers going to adjust as these fish move up and down the ledges? What kind of finesse techniques are we going to see? We sort of got a glimpse of that last year at Chickamauga when Cody Meyer ended up finishing up there on one of them ledges, used a drop shot from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
That offshore bite is now going to, in my opinion, it's going to get tougher and tougher because the electronics these guys have got, they're going to be able to exploit it more and more.
Right.
Yeah.
You brought up another name, Dustin Cannell. Instinctive or electronics guru?
One of my favorite stories to tell is, and I've really got to enjoy to know this young man. He's a University of Alabama kid. He was playing a little JUCO baseball, realized he wasn't that good at it, and he wanted to go fish. He joined the Alabama fishing team, and all he could afford was 90 horsepower and a 16-foot champion. And he beat the friggin' brakes off of it. And I mean, so there's some instincts there. All right, he beat the brakes off of him, and then because of the college situation he was in, the SEC, that allowed him to travel all over the country. So when I'm covering Connell, he's one of my go-fast guys. He is by far and people are going to find this hard to believe, when he's going down the bank, he does not have an equal. He almost goes so fast it's a fault. And I've talked to him a few times. I'm like, when this kid ever figures out, because that's the beauty of Kevin. Kevin invented going fast, but Kevin, when he really has gotten good, is he knows when to slow down.
Right.
Connell, that you follow in, was the first time I ever saw him truly slow down.
Yeah.
Dustin is go fast, go fast, go fast, go fast, go fast. So it's max effort. But now he's just now starting to develop the instincts. What he has, you can't replicate.
Right.
What he's developing will make what he has even that much better.
Yeah.
Is Jordan Lee the next Kevin Van Dam?
Oh man, that's I get that. That's a fair question. Okay, so let's throw another name in there too.
Wheeler.
So if we're going to say that, let's put Wheeler in there.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's also and both of them, man, they're incredible. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. But let's remember this: Kevin is an 8-time AOY.
Yeah.
A 4-time Classic winner. Okay, Jay Lee has got 1 AOY. He's got 2 Classics. Wheeler has got one Classic type Forestwood Cup win. 1. So when we talk about the next Kevin, and I tell you what, me covering this sport has done. It's made me. I think in society we use the word great way too much. What I like to do is go really, really good, because these kids are really, really good. If they don't win another event, they've already got Hall of Fame credentials. But Kevin is one of the few that I truly, that's great. We're talking about a guy that's 28-time winner on the national trail. I think Wheeler's at 13, Jay Lee's at 7 or 8.
Yeah. Kevin's the Richard Petty of bass fishing.
Yeah, I mean, he really is. So are they the next one? Yes, they're tracking that way. But when you're talking, I lived through some of those 8-time AOYs. He was a stinking reason I retired.
Yeah.
It got to the point that you're like, I mean, listen to this. 08, 09, 010, and in 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. You won AOY. That got to be no fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did. And then you're talking about 28 wins. Here's another stat that a lot of people don't realize with Kevin. 375 events, 298 times in the money, 132 top 10s, 16 runner-ups.
Golly.
The numbers are just – so when people say, is that angler the next, I remind them who we're comparing him to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's way too early to tell.
Here's what we're blessed at in our whole sport. I don't care what league. I'm talking about sport universal. Luckily for us, there isn't, and to me, there's not even debate who's the greatest of all time. That's Kevin.
Yeah.
I'll put that resume against everybody.
Right.
Not only is he the greatest, he's a great guy, and he's, unlike a lot of other superstars, he's one of the hardest working people I've ever met off the water.
Yeah. No. I've witnessed that actually in Orlando Airport after ICAST. I sat beside him and Sherry for an hour and a half waiting on our flight. That dude was on the phone constantly making plans, making arrangements for this and that, for this speaking engagement, this promotion. I'm like, good God. I mean, it was nonstop.
He was next to Sherry, and if he didn't do it, she'd whip him.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Brian, I want to get back to Raburn here, and the first day y'all have 10 cameras going out, right, Marty?
No, actually, this year what we got, the first day we're going to have 6. The first 2 days were 6. So that's our what we call shotgun round. We're throwing everybody out. Now all score trackers will be hot and live, so we're going to go 6. And then when we get to the elimination, everybody's second day, then we go hot with 10.
Oh, okay.
So let's just say Sunday, Monday, y'all's first 2 days. You have 6 on the water on Sunday, 6 on Monday. For you guys, for you and JT, this is going to be tough to cover, because I can tell you, let's just Sunday, you have 6 cameras. All 6 of those guys could possibly and very well be doing something different.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to turn
So-
around Monday because, again, you've got hay grass, you've got hydrilla, you've got bushes, so you've got offshore, all this stuff on Rayburn from up above 147 Bridge all the way back down to the dam, up to Ash By. Everybody's doing something different here. This is not going to be who's in the rice brush pile, who's, everybody doing the same thing. Y'all are going to have a lot to cover here.
Here's a shameless pitch. All right, I'm going to give you my shameless plug for the day. On MFL, on our website, when we're looking at danglers on the score tracker, we've got a thing that's called MFL Insider. It's free.
Right.
You just give me your email address, it's free. And here's why I'm going to be on that a ton during that time period, because what you said. Now we've got the ability. We've changed up our score tracker a little bit. We've got it a little bit better. We've got it updated. I'm do the MLF Insider. I'm able to punch the angler's name real time and see what lures he's catching them on, what depth he's in, and what section of the lake.
Oh.
I
Wow.
will have a better, and anybody can. Any fan can.
Yeah.
That's free now. That's added. You'll hear us plugging MLF Insider. It's literally, let's go to Todd Faircloth and see. All right, he's got 5 on a Strike King rodent. He's in the midsection of the lake. He's catching them in bushes. I can take that information and make an educated guess. Todd's catching them flipping and pitching bushes. We haven't always had that. That's going to be, at this event, that's going to be huge for us. And for the fans that want to cover it, I mean, now you get to see real time how these guys are catching them as that plugs in.
Marty, next question. How many people have y'all been accustomed to showing up at the lake to follow these guys in an event? Because not just between the tournament Kevin and I are fishing, but other things else going on. But how many people will show up, put their boat in the water just to go observe these guys? Again, that's electronic noise. That's trolling motor noise.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of that. A lot of people could be on the water.
We've had it. We've, especially on some of the TBA offshore deals where you get 20 or 30 guys in here. But I'll say for the most part in national events, it's been less than the norm. And here's why. With that trailer policy, back in the old days where we all had to blast off from the same place, it was pretty easy to get hot behind somebody and then stay with them all day.
Mm-hmm.
Now with your favorite anglers, with them able to trailer all over the lake, you have no clue where they're putting in at. So if you catch up with them on the lake, it's by chance.
Yeah, yeah.
The one thing that we don't do, like if I know exactly where an angler is on day 1 or day 2, I'll give you the general vicinity. I'll say Beach Basin. But we don't show on the map exactly where that angler is. And that's my angler's request, and I get it.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. By championship day, we get it dialed in a little bit better.
Right.
Because we all know the world's going to know it anyway.
Right.
But it's not, it happens, and it's a great thing. But I really think more and more people are realizing, and they do it on the water too. I remember that event that you follow, that Wheeler won. He had probably about 30 people around him, and every one of them sitting in the boat was either on their iPad or on their phone watching MLF live as it was going down real time. You could hear us on an echo off their phone coming through on Wheeler's mic.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Well, Marty, man, we're looking forward to this event. Like I said, a lot of us that are either watching this as we speak or getting ready to head over there ourselves and wet a hook between me and Kevin. So I just think it's going to be a great event. Looking forward to it. Of course, even though we're competing, I'm still going to try to stay out of some of these guys' way. I don't want to try to. They're fishing for a lot more money than I am. But yes, we want to compete. We want to win our thing as well. But I just think it's going to be a great week at Sam Raburn. We're glad MLF is coming in, and we're glad Jasper has brought this tournament to Sam Raburn. We can't say thank you enough for those people, I'm sure, that were involved in doing this. And we're hopefully one day we get you guys on Red River. I'd like to have y'all. The weights on Red River are coming back up again, and had a good tournament there last weekend for the TBF Nationals. And but hey, man, thank you. We appreciate the coverage you guys give on Major League Fishing, because you, JT, y'all do a tremendous job of describing the action and what is going on. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, y'all are too kind. And putting up with me and JT on 6 hours a day, 9 days. We always tell people by midway through day 4, we're not responsible for what we say because we're friggin' fried. But it is so much fun. And man, I'm looking forward to this event as much as I am any of it. And I thank you guys for everything you do for the sport, for your show, just the ambassadors that y'all are. And I know this is going to be a great event. Every time we go to the state of Texas, something special happens, and I don't see this one being any different.
All right. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
All right. Marty Stone. That was him, the man who has had a lot of answers for us, Kevin.
He did.
Did a great job of breaking it down. And I'm looking forward to going over there and just seeing what's going on. Of course, I'm looking forward to going fishing myself.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I'm just anxious to see how many of the guys, how they approach this, how many things they're going to be doing differently, how they're going to approach the 4 to 6 to 8 foot hydrilla. Different things, different ways they're going to approach everything over there. It's going to be an interesting event, especially for as long as they're going to be there. And like I said, you can't get enough practice in 2 days to practice for being on the water, the amount of time they're going to be there, on how they get patterns and how they run those patterns for a whole week that they're there.
And I think too, Kevin, the guy that finds that magical area where fish are not only staging to pull up, but you got fish coming back out to set up again on that first drop. When they find that sweet spot, that could be the guy that ends up winning this event. Kind of that mid-range 15 to 18-foot mark. I think that's going to be the guy you're going to have to look out for.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's somebody can hit the perfect spot, the perfect grass patch, the perfect stretch of bushes. I mean, who knows what it could end up being when this thing is said and done. But Steve, for everything other than MLF, we got a busy week next weekend. Busy week this weekend. The Outlaw Sweet 16 Championship this weekend at Raburn. Next weekend, very busy weekend. One thing I do want to go over that's going on at Toledo Bend is the Poche tournament, the Dylan Poche tournament that is happening at Toledo Bend next weekend, March 27th. Put on by his father, Bert Poche. Good friend of ours. Guys, you need to get on this event. You need to check it out. You can get registered. I know you can register the night before, the day of. We're fixing to have a flyer up here as soon as we do. You need to make sure if you're around Toledo Bend, want to fish Toledo Bend, guys, this is a cheap tournament that guarantees $20,000 first place.
And the fishing should be good.
The fishing is off the charts right now on Toledo Bend.
It should be a good time.
Make your way out for this event.
You should catch a bunch of fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should go and have a good time. 'Cause this is a benefit tournament. And again, it benefits Northwestern State University and their fishing team, as well as some other organizations that the Poche family's been involved with. And again, Bert and Shelley have done a tremendous job. This event, when it started, to see where it has come to today, that's dedication and hard work on their part, and a lot of people are involved with this. And so if you're looking for something to do, just to go have a good time, eat some good food, win some really good door prizes, this is a great event to go to.
Let me give you his number. Bert Poche is tournament director, father of Dylan Poche, who passed away several years ago. Again, Memorial Tournament. 318-652-3176. That is Bert's phone number. If you have any questions, how to register, when to register, so on and so forth, give Bert a call. Make sure you get registered for that event.
The registration form is on our Facebook page as we speak. So go there, pull it up, and check it out. Go ahead and sign up, print that sucker out, and make sure you get in that event because, again, it's first-class event put on by first-class people. So what else we got, Kev?
I think that's it for today. Want to make sure we thank the rest of our sponsors, 3J's Fourway, Cypress Knee Outdoors, a store within a store and a great place for lunch with an awesome deli and the best fried chicken in the South. 3J's Fourway offers gas, food, and ice, but Cypress Knee Outdoors offers a great selection of hunting and fishing gear. Hunting supplies from Primo, guns from Winchester, Remington, and Mossberg, along with a great selection of ammunition. Products by Santone, Strike King, Spro, Gamakatsu, and the #1 soft plastic on the planet, V&M Baits.
And if you're headed over here to Sam Raburn or headed to Toledo Bend to fish the Poche event, stop in at Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle. Let Keith and Ben Matsubu, former Elite Series pro, make sure you ask them some questions. What they biting? What are they? How deep are they? Are they shallow? Well, we all know a lot of them are shallow, so find out what the best bites is coming on right now, and Keith and them will have that right there in the store for you. Pick you up a couple, and before you head to the lake, and it's right there as soon as you cross Pendleton Bridge. Keith's Tackle's on the left. Can't miss it. Just all you gotta do is look for a little store on the left, and stop in there and tell them Tackle Talk Live sent you.
Pride Rods, custom rods built in Montgomery, Texas. The finest rods ever made by Mr. Billy Kistler, constructed with the finest North Fork composite blank by Mr. Gary Loomis. They carry a complete line of spinning and casting rods for both freshwater and saltwater. Ask your local tackle dealer if they carry Pride Rods and pick one up. Try it for yourself. To learn more, go to priderods.com or call 832-418-6040.
And last but not least, the Lakes Insurance Agency is an independent insurance agency that has been taking care of Texans' insurance needs for over 25 years, offering auto, homeowners, boat, recreational, vehicle, life, health, commercial insurance, everything you could ever want as far as insurance needs. Clark Moore, he's also a local guy and tournament angler who understands your insurance need as a boat owner, especially. So he needs to be your go-to guy for all your insurance needs. You can give him a call for a free quote at 936-205-4467. That's 936-205-4467. He's located at 805 Southeast Stallings, Suite 3 in Nacogdoches, Texas.
MLF Live starts Sunday. Group A will go Sunday. Group B will go Monday. So guys have nothing to do, make sure to check that out. Great event that these guys are going to put on a show next week at Sam Raburn.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thank you for tuning in. Continue to share this program. Get the word out there. Monday, we will be replaying this show,
yes.
Probably. So if you missed today's show or somebody did miss it, tell them to tune in Monday, same time. We'll re-air this program and at 12:30 on Monday. Looking forward to hopefully see you over at Sam Raburn, or maybe coming through Toledo Bend. Maybe we'll, if you see our trucks or our vehicles, please stop Kevin or I, either one. Say, hey man, we love listening to the show. I like a little feedback. If you got some topics you'd like for us to talk about, let us know what those are. Go to our Facebook page if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the show as well. And we'll be glad to reply to that. We'll get you a packet and make sure you understand exactly how we operate and what we're all about. So again, thank you for listening, tuning in each and every week. Can't say thank you enough. And we look forward to talking to you again for more Tackle Talk Live. If you want to become a better fisherman, you got to watch Tackle Talk Live.